Hello everyone, happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all viewers. So we wish that Ganesh will give everyone health and happiness, and we'll start our the next episode called conversion disorders or dissociative disorders. So as the name says, disassociation. So there is an altered association or an altered conscious state, which is usually as a result of an extreme trauma. Generally, in this particular condition, the person has an altered consciousness as a reaction to an extreme traumatic situation or an emotional situation of long-term duration. So here mainly the integration or coordination in terms of the person's memory related to the past, the person's identity, as well as the memories around the stressful situation are being affected, and hence the person has an altered sensation where it can reflect in terms of loss of memory, in terms of loss of movement, loss of sensations. The person might suddenly travel to a new place altogether. So there are various types of this altered consciousness, which we will deal a little later. So looking at what usually happens in this condition, the person usually is unaware, or it's called involuntary, and where the person might suddenly lose the memory of a particular stressful situation, especially the memory around the incident, and then the person might behave as if they're unable to even remember their name or address and basic identity. So what makes them do this? Looking at the factors or the causes of this kind of disassociation, like I said, an extreme trauma or a stressful situation, especially if it is for a prolonged period. Person who has gone through a kind of a battle stress or a war stress or a disaster, something like a natural calamity, or a continuous financial or continuous marital and relational issues where it appears to be a long-term kind of a problem, some amount of the memory or the identity related to that trauma is lost. So, and hence we look at it more in terms of a dissociative kind of condition. So there are other factors like there can be psychosocial stressors, or sometimes it can be an unconscious motivation for a secondary gain. So I'll explain here a little bit on this part. Unconscious, we in the previous episodes when we are discussing some of the other conditions, I explained about the defense mechanisms and different states of consciousness. So in unconsciousness, where the person is not completely aware of the motivation, why and the person, how they are behaving in this particular state, and generally sometimes there can be a positive reward associated with that, like people giving more attention when they are behaving differently than in normal circumstances. So there is some amount of reward or a secondary gain, we call it, is there. All this maintain this kind of disassociated kind of behaviors. So we look a little detailed about what are the different types as well as the symptoms of this kind of dissociative disorders. Generally, the onset as well as the ending of this dissociation state is a very sudden, and it is usually rarely observed under normal routine circumstances, and most of the times it is surrounded in relation to the memories of the stressful area. So in chronic or long-term conditions, usually this state will remit in a couple of hours and maybe a couple of days, but in long-term or chronic conditions, it might turn out to be a paralysis, or sometimes the person might behave as if the person is completely losing the sensation of a particular limb or a particular body, generally we call skin cutaneous sensations. The person might completely show that absence of these sensations. So they are usually resistant to therapy, and most of the times the reason, the psychological trauma or the reason is denied by the clients, even though it is very considered to be the most possible even by family members and the treating professional. Most of the times there is a denial on the part of the client. So these are some of the important aspects or the symptoms seen. And looking at the types, so it is like a cluster, a group of conditions that come under this dissociative condition. So I'll describe very briefly about each condition. There are around 5 to 6. Dissociative amnesia. Amnesia is the memory loss, especially around the memory loss related to the traumatic situation is something the person is completely lost here, and then especially this happens in unexpected bereavement or loss of someone or an accident where they lose the memory of the details of the immediate or the recent incident. So here we have to rule out in certain conditions related to organic or physical conditions, like in intoxication, when you have taken a substance intoxication, or a brain trauma. In these conditions also this kind of dissociation or loss of memory can happen. We are not speaking here about that kind. It is mainly a psychologically originated kind of loss of memory, which we call dissociative amnesia. So the other condition is dissociative fugue, where the person might completely kind of in a state of fugue, where they might plan a travel completely to a different place, taking a completely different personality. Generally this travel will be towards places where they have an emotional significance attached to it, where the person's behavior is completely normal, but entirely the person, this fugue state, the person might lose the memory of his previous identity. So it is again very organized travel the person has, and then the behavior is completely normal. The person's social or the mannerisms are the same, but then the person might lose the memory of one's previous identity. So that is dissociative fugue. Dissociative stupor. Stupor is where there is absence of a voluntary movement, where the person might not respond to the senses like vision or sight, where they might completely be motionless without moving for long periods of time, sitting in one particular place. Speech is almost absent, but the person is very conscious and they are not in any sleepy state. So they are completely conscious state, but it is completely a motionless state of the voluntary muscles. This is dissociative stupor. And there is another type called dissociative possession or dissociative trance. Here the person is mainly behaves as if the person has lost complete identity, and then they have these repetitive movements as if they are being possessed by a completely different personality, as if a god has possessed or a deity has possessed. So this is completely a psychogenic kind of a condition where the loss of identity and the normal routine is disturbed. Here we don't include the religious kind of possession where it is excluded from this diagnosis. So here this kind of possession or a trance can also happen in conditions, some of the fits in head injury kind of conditions, which we need to again rule out whether it is completely psychogenic or associated with some biological trauma. And then comes the dissociative disorder of movement and sensation. Here usually the sensation related to the skin or the cutaneous sensation is completely lost. It's like a physical disorder. The person behaves as if the person is completely non-responsive, and then and it is not under voluntary control. So the important aspect that one need to keep in mind in all of this dissociation is it is considered to be involuntary and the person is not having control on the situation. So in dissociative disorder of movement, usually the person might be going through some unpleasant long-term conflict, and then the person is unwilling to cooperate to handle this kind of conflict, and hence they get into this kind of dissociative disorder of movement or sensation. And coming to the dissociative motor and convulsions. So here again the person might completely lose the movement of limbs. They might be having difficulty in walking. We call it ataxia, where the person might try to limp, or the person might kind of tremble or shake in the limbs or legs, unable to sit or stand. So this is disassociation of the movement. And dissociation convulsions, where the person might get fits like a condition where there might be vigorous movements of the limbs, but then in the actual epilepsy there can be a tongue biting, or there will be incontinence of urine, loss of control on the urine passage, as well as falling and getting injury, which is present in normal epilepsy or fits, is absent here. So here the person might not usually get injured with this kind of convulsions. So these are different kinds of dissociative states or types, we can call them. So here there is active use of defense mechanisms, where the person might have a complete denial of having a traumatic situation or going through a traumatic situation. And then some of the clients might show a regressive kind of behavior, where there is unconsciously trying to suppress something very traumatic, and they don't want that traumatic situation to be affecting their emotions. So we call it repression. So these are some of the defense mechanisms that the person might be they might be using these kind of defense mechanisms as a way of coping with the stress. So looking at the management, or looking at what counseling or psychotherapy can do, mainly the counseling is mainly focused on if the trauma or the psychological cause is not very evident. Sometimes we may have to take the client through some of the psychological testing, where we call them projective testing, in order to bring forth the trauma that the client might be going through, because in order to resolve the trauma, one need to work through this trauma, and it needs the cooperation of the client. So some amount of psychological testing to bring the details of the trauma, clues related to the trauma is administered, and then the main focus is on dealing with the negative emotions associated with this traumatic situation. And usually like I said, the motivation is very low, and then to gain the trust of the client for the therapist is very important here. A good rapport building and communication and motivation are very important to bring forth all these traumatic situations, as well as work through the negative emotions. Not the least, the environmental modifications. Family members more or less agree with the traumatic situation, while the patient can have an active or a partial denial of the situation. So sometimes the sometimes the unrealistic kind of expectations, especially this kind of disassociation can happen in as young a child as 10 years or 11 years, where they have some academic issues, low IQ, while the parents are expecting them to excel in the academics or in particular skill. So the child might get into this kind of disassociative kind of condition. So mainly working through these unrealistic expectations in case of child clients. So mainly the counseling role is working through the negative emotions surrounding the trauma, and then helping the family and the modification in the family environment to bring more an understanding kind of environment for the client. So this is regarding conversion or dissociative disorders. Thank you.